Joaquim never imagined he would come to this point. The son of northeastern Brazilian immigrants who, with great effort, managed to give him a simple but dignified education, he always carried the pride of living an honest life. He worked hard from the age of 18, with temporary jobs, after being trained as an auto mechanic. He was always proud to provide for his wife, Marta, and their 3 young children. However, over time, things began to change. The economic crisis, the lack of opportunities, and the ever-decreasing wages made his world begin to crumble. Do you want to know where this story goes? Before we continue, if you want to help our channel keep bringing amazing stories, give this video a like and subscribe. If you enjoy it, turn on notifications to know when new videos are released. At first, Joaquim tried everything to keep feeding his children. Marta, concerned, advised him to look for work outside his field, but jobs were scarce. They were already in debt, and the situation seemed to be getting more difficult. It was then, on a cold midnight with no one else to turn to, that he made a decision that would change his life forever. That night, while walking to the local market to pick up a part he had bought on credit, Joaquim saw a group of people around a pile of fruit boxes. Some of them, already spoiled, would be discarded. The thought was immediate: why not take these fruits and bring them home? At least my children won't go hungry tonight. At first, what seemed like a temporary solution turned into something recurrent. He didn't steal large amounts, just enough to feed his children. But the more he did it, the more he felt trapped. The first time he took the food, guilt overwhelmed him, but when he saw the happiness on Marta's and the kids' faces as they ate a hot meal, he felt as if he had made the best decision. "I'm doing this for my family," he told himself, trying to justify it. As time went on, the thefts increased. Joaquim no longer only took expired food or discarded products. Every time he left the house, he passed by markets, stores, and even approached large supermarkets, always at night when there was little surveillance. The tension built in his chest, but he saw no other way out. His family needed to survive, and the guilt for their situation was not his, or at least, he tried to convince himself of that. What he didn't know was that someone was watching. A security guard at the supermarket, passing by a more secluded section, saw the man enter the store at night. He observed him for days, noting the times he appeared. Joaquim didn't notice, but it was enough to raise suspicion that something was going on. The guard, already suspicious, decided to inform the supermarket manager. When Joaquim was returning from one of his thefts, the situation began to escalate. A police officer stopped him, and he quickly realized something was wrong. "Do you have any explanation for what you're doing here, sir?" asked the officer, his voice firm. Joaquim, sweating with fear, tried to justify himself, but the words wouldn't come out. He felt the weight of guilt accumulating, but at the same time, the fear of losing his family pushed him to keep going. Before the officer could ask more questions, the supermarket manager arrived, bringing the security guard with him. They had proof that Joaquim had been there several times. The news that he had stolen food to feed his family spread quickly, but as the case became public, opinions became divided. Some saw Joaquim as a hero, a desperate man doing whatever was necessary to protect his own, while others saw him as a criminal without justification. The police did not arrest Joaquim immediately, but he was required to attend court. Marta, who had initially supported the idea of taking what was necessary, began to question whether this was getting out of hand. She knew what he was doing wasn't right, but they both were at a moral crossroads. Tension at home turned into constant arguments. Joaquim knew he had to change, but didn't know how. He was living in fear of being discovered and judged by his own conscience. In court, the judge listened to the testimonies, but the case sparked a heated public debate. In the end, Joaquim was not imprisoned, but he was fined heavily and required to commit to attending rehabilitation for his behavior. But the greatest punishment was emotional. He had to face the shame of his own choice and the weight of having broken his ethics. When Joaquim returned home, he faced a complex situation. Marta no longer looked at him the same way, and his children, though young, began to notice that their father had done something that couldn't be ignored. He spent the next few months trying to rebuild his life and prove to himself that he could still be the honest man he always wanted to be. The video ends with Joaquim sitting outside his house, looking at the horizon. He doesn't know what the future holds, but he knows his journey of redemption has just begun. I did what I thought was right at the time, but now I know there are other ways to care for my children. I need to be better. Want to know more about this story and many others we still have to share? Then don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Every day, a new story comes straight from our mysterious archive, filled with tales and accounts we've gathered from various sources. Cases with stories that will give you chills. Also, don't forget to share this video with that friend of yours who loves a good mystery.